All righty. We're going to continue to see what's happening at this time. Making sure you guys can see me and hear me. I always like to double check that here as we get these things going. I'm doing it from our new set in here, so making sure this all works the way I want it to work, right? So I will let you guys first and foremost join us here for a second. I'm going to make sure you guys can hear me as we talk about what's going on specifically. Make sure you guys can hear me. I always like to double check. I've got it on Facebook. You guys can also text this number as well. Let me see. That's where we are right now. So I'll flash that on for you. Let's let a few more people join. Thank you, David, for the update. Let a few more people join. First and foremost, we're talking about cold air that's in store for us right now. And I always like to, I can double check that I can hear myself. I'm following you guys along. I'm also going to follow along on the text line. Keep in mind, I'm doing this in between now and Show Me St. Louis, and we have a live weather update there as well. But, before I get into it, I'm going to let a few more people join. I can see that not only people joining on Facebook, on the 5 on Your Side app, and of course, KSDK.com, as well as YouTube. So welcome all. We're talking about the snow and cold air. And like I've said before, and I flashed this on, now I can kind of go back and forth between there and here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk a little bit about it here. I'm going to watch your guys' comments at the end and try to answer the questions the best that I can at this point of the day, right? It's Wednesday. We've been talking about this winter storm for several days now. And the main story is, first and foremost, the significant cold air. I can't stress that enough. We've talked about that at great length. The main story is significant cold air. Now, secondary-wise, we have consistent light snow that's in store for us. You know, we're going to see snow, and I'm starting to see our chances for snow ramp up a little bit. We'll talk about the variables of how we got to where we are now and, what we're in store for the next few days, because I do think our chances for snow are ramping up just a little bit more. And we're also seeing some of those variables that maybe kept the snow away, maybe going away sooner than later. So that could, if you're a snow lover, that could give you an idea as well. So let's talk about what's in store for us here and kind of to focus around. I'll go through this whole thing and talk about why we should enjoy today. It's sunny as can be. You'll see our temperatures have already gone up to 39 degrees. We have more of a west or west-northwest breeze today, right? So no problems there. Next several hours, we're okay, mid-40s. And I'm telling you right now, this is the best day that we've got for the next 2 weeks that we're going to see. Our Arctic blast that's in store for us, like I said, you need to worry about the fact that Friday into Sunday, those are all 3 days that we are going to see temperatures near zero with some snow. And I want you to prepare your pipes if you have those pipes that are prone to that, right? The first and foremost is the fact that we have serious cold air that's in Canada. We're tracking that. We've been talking about it for several days, but Friday into Saturday and Sunday, those are all days that we have to deal with this really cold air. Now, as we're talking about what's in store for us, here's the thing for me is, as we've been talking about where this cold air is coming from, let's just put this into motion and I can show you exactly where it is, right? You have this core of 25 to 30 below air that's right here. Now it's starting to push its way south. As it is pushed south, here's how this is going to animate. And our upper level pattern brings that for us, right? I can kind of scan through and bring you that just a little bit more as we pull this up for you, because you're able to see that as we start to watch the core of this cold air, it pushes and dives much, much further south. You'll see that here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's where the core of this just polar air mass settles into the area. At the same time, you'll see this system that digs to the south here by Friday into Saturday. That's the one we're watching. What it's going to do is going to ride those upper level winds and work its way right along an area where it's picking up moisture, and also it interacts with this really cold air. A lot of the times, how often have we said, well, it's cold, but we don't have any moisture to deal with, or we've got moisture, but we don't have the cold, right? If this were only 4 or 5 degrees colder, there's no doubt about it. We have all snow, but this is a significant winter storm for 2/3 of the country, right? So that's what we continue to focus on. So in a standpoint of whether or not it's going to be cold enough, this is what I've been kind of showing you all week here. I have generally paused it as we've gotten to a certain point. I've showed Friday, and at one point Friday was going to work its way in with some light snow. You see this northeast breeze, that's the cold air that's going to settle in. Now, one point I have generally paused it early in the week, right? Because so oftentimes we get into these situations where we're talking about snowstorms, and if you see online, I even saw it last weekend where people were sharing snowfall maps, or I looked at the weather app and all of a sudden we're getting a ton of snow. And then we're not getting a ton of snow at that point, right? Those are the computer models which are taking all this data, which AI is great for a lot of things, not for others, right? But when it puts all this data in, it's not able to tell exactly what's going on when it comes to, let me hit spacebar so I can toggle around. The computer models like this are set up for that. Your phone app is not set up between figuring out sleet, rain, or snow, so it may just tell you, hey, you're gonna get 30 inches of snow. I saw a couple of those weird posts. We responded, we talk about it. But as we talk through some of the other variables that aren't being able to figure out by your app and only can be figured out by, yeah, some computer models can figure it out, others don't do it as well, but it's the fact that these other variables, like this dry air that settles in, right? It looks like it wants to snow at this point as we head into Saturday morning, right? And this is just one model and one run of Futurecast. But one of the things that we contend with and what we've talked about pretty significantly is that the bulk of the heavy snow is to the south. And I still think that's the case. However, one thing that we have to contend with is this dry air out of the northeast. And I kind of illustrated that this morning. And I know not everybody was following along and getting up as early as we have been. Now, this winter storm setup, I paused this at 8 o'clock on Saturday because we have this really strong high pressure, which is responsible for all this really cold air that's in store for us. But at the same time, it's bringing in that northeasterly flow. You'll see that clockwise motion. Well, we have that low that we tracked off to the southwest, and that's riding right along the panhandle, and that's interacting with humidity and that cold air, and that's where they're absolutely going to get the coldest and most amount of snow and all this ice and sleet, and they have a different equation to deal with. For us, it's all snow, but the equation is, when do we see this entire area kind of settle in? And watch this through midday. We're starting to see more of that humidity come up. And the sooner that the snow falls, evaporates, and saturates our atmosphere, well, then we'll see more snowfall quickly. And I think we're starting to see that along those lines. So I want to ramp up some of the snow messaging just a little bit. You know, I talk about why I have not made a snowfall map yet, and it's because these main reasons, right? The system is tracking a bit further north. And we've watched this with every model run, which some of them come pretty multiple times throughout the day, and now we're starting to see more higher resolution ones, which can kind of gather and guide us a little bit better. But we're also looking at snowfall ratios, which are usually 10 to 1. And when we talk about this from a standpoint of what kind of snowfall are we getting, well, you know, generally, a lot of the times, this could be, you know, 10 to 1, which means 1 inch of liquid precipitation equals 10 inches of snow, right? That's a general guide. Doesn't happen all the time, can change. When it gets as cold as it's going to be, it could be up to 20 to 1. And so now you're looking at a ½ an inch of liquid precipitation could equal up to 20 inches of snow. So that's why it's a fine line, because I don't think that we're going to get quite up to a ½ an inch of liquid, but we're going to see somewhere in between that. So that means it's a very efficient snowfall production. So that's another thing some of these models don't take into account. And I want to show you some of the other things here as we look at several computer models and why we have not, I don't want you to sound like, hey, we're waffling back and forth, and why we have kind of waited and waited and waited, because I want to show you several computer models, one being just one particular model. And we'll talk about where this is right here. And you'll see this high that is very strong, right under that 1045. That's pretty much centered right over Wisconsin. And look at this map, right? It has snow and ice for everybody and not much snow. This is mid-morning Saturday. I tried to share it at the exact same time here, just to kind of give you an idea of why there's still so much difference. And these are some of the major models that we can look at and give an idea. This one is the driest. This one has been the consistent, hey, we're anti-snow. It's to the south. That cold, dry air settles in. The other one's a little more bullish, right? This has got some pretty wide area of snow with, like I said, still the snowfall belt, which is right over the top of areas in Arkansas and, you know, northern Arkansas, Panhandle, Texas. That is an incredibly bad drive. Those areas are absolutely going to be crippled. Nashville, Memphis, these are all problems. Then you look at this, the next one. Well, similar, but also on the snowier side. So, right, they're all kind of in between to some regard in my sense. And when you look at that and then you compare it to, the fact that we've started to watch these, we watch them every hour, they're starting to come a little further north. And I'm starting to see better ideas that I think that are giving us opportunities for snow. So when you look at, let's say, I'm going to pull this back onto myself here. So we got this, right? From a standpoint of winter weather impacts, to me, this is Saturday afternoon and all the way into Sunday. At the very least, dry, fluffy, and blowing snow is a moderate impact. We're going to see slick roads, and I'll move that, I think. Let's just kind of get me into some of these things, right? Getting into some of these things so you can get an idea. Slick roads late Saturday into Sunday. Actually, I can just make it on a full screen. You got to bear with me a little bit. I'm kind of getting used to my new workflow in this building here, so I can flip this on a full screen. What you'll see is slick roads late Saturday into Sunday. We've got wind chills as cold as 20 below. To me, like I said, it's always going to be the cold air is the most significant problem that we have overall. That does not mean we will not have problems from snow, because I think we will. And I want to show you some of the most recent computer models that are kind of maybe giving us a better idea. And this just kind of gives you, this is our in-house model, which is a little bit different. This kind of gives you even a little bit more of a different scale, because like I said, let me scan this all the way through Saturday as far as this will let me go. Now, once again, that northeasterly breeze, look how cold it is. We're in the single digits at this time, and we continue to see problems here overall. Now watch this snow that settles in. This has it coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not quite sure I think this is a little too soon for that because of that dry air. However, if it does this that early, then our snow totals are going up. And it's going to snow consistently. Let me switch to a different one, which I know that's another one that's not an in-house model. This is a different model. We generally have about 4 or 5 different models that I can pull up on this computer. I just showed you a few that you can't see on this computer, and I'm going to pull that up right now. And let's see, that's the right one. Let me pull that one up. So this is the different one, and watch the difference here. You're at 10:15 on Saturday, and watch how we get into the afternoon. It starts to increase. Now overall, better opportunities. Ignore the zeros. I'll take them off just for, well, if I take them off, you won't be able to see the cities. But in general, I think this is more likely what's going to happen. The northern area, not going to get quite as much snow. The areas to the south are going to see snow earlier and more consistent and at a higher rate. That's where your totals could go up. And we're talking 6, 7, 8 inches of snow at minimum. Other areas, the sooner that dry air is overcome, the better opportunity we have for snow. And to me, that's where we're looking at here at this point, because we have significant, this has really changed quite a bit. And you're seeing a lot of these differences, right? So to me, that's why it's important that we don't put out a snowfall map, because until we start to get some of those things to get a little more symmetry, because I don't want to say, hey, all of a sudden we're getting 6 to 8 inches of snow, and then all of a sudden it moves again. It's just been out, there's been some pretty good spreads. To me, that's the best solution at this point, where you're going to start off dry in the morning, even as this snow wants to work its way in. You're going to start off dry in the morning, and then watch by midday. This may evaporate first, but what that's going to do is saturate the lower levels of the atmosphere, and then you're going to see better chances for snow. So like I said, from that standpoint, that's where we are with that. However, we're going to continue to look at this here, because I do think that, like I mentioned, that's the spot that we're going to monitor the most here at this point when we're talking about what's going on snow-wise. Here's what's going on here throughout the next several hours, because I do think that what we still have to contend with here is the fact that we have some pretty good snow that is on the way throughout the next several hours. So let me switch this back to my computer here. Let me get this here, and I will switch it for you guys so I can try to answer some of your questions here. So, like I mentioned, there's a winter storm watch for areas to the south, right? At this point, it only includes a small handful of counties. I would not be surprised to see that move a little further north. To me, it is along 44 and 70 southeast. That's where your better opportunities are going to be as you see a little bit more snow early on. To me, that's where we are at the moment here. As we come up close to 9:45, like I said, that's where we are. The other end of the spectrum, like I said, the very cold air is in place. Our wind chills consistently throughout the day, somewhere between 10 to 20 below. This snow is going to be blowing across the road. Our temperatures are cold. It's going to be very difficult to treat the roads, right? So that's where we are with that. I'm going to try to answer some of your questions here. That way I don't butt up too far against Show Me St. Louis, which will be on right after this. Let's see. I'm going to talk about, Kayla said, I have my baby shower this Sunday. I hope I don't have to reschedule it. Kayla, I think the second half of the day is going to be better, but it will be on the cold side here as we look at that. Hunter, you know, I'm not, how much snow is also a question where it's going to be more specific here. I don't know where you live, so that's how we're not there yet. Susan kind of answered that for me. I can't tell you how much. I have a general idea, and I think there are going to be some spots that get 4 to 6 inches plus in an area wide, but I want you to be prepared for numbers like that pretty consistently. I think they could go higher, and there will be some spots that get much less than that, but the longer that the snow is around here at this temperature, it's efficient snowfall production. It will not take long to get some higher numbers here. Is Central Illinois getting the snow? I believe so. Scott is still getting milk and bread. That's, yeah, we could be trending that. Hal said, I'm hearing 12 to 14 inches. I don't know where he heard that from. I think that's going to be south. I really don't think that we're going to get 12 to 14 inches. And I don't know where you live. So that's the other thing. These are all, it's going to be a fine line and cutoff. So let's see. Vicky said she wants to be snowed in with a good warm fire in the wood storm. That's good. O'Fallon snowfall totals. Dustin, don't have quite, I'm not going to give, I don't want to talk about snowfall totals in depth yet, but I would expect it's a possibility of 4 inches plus in some cases. So we're going to keep that number in mind, and we're going to go on either side of it. I want to look at some more data later on today. Kelly, Arnold, Missouri is definitely getting snow. I think everybody's getting snow in some regard. That's where we are right now with this. So, you know, as we continue to talk about all that, let me double check some of the messages on our chat line here. So, you know, we're pretty much up to date on this here at this point. But like I said, Dustin, we're going to keep you posted. Ashley asked a good question. When am I going to know more concrete numbers? With this storm, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable later on this afternoon and evening. As Scott continues to analyze it, I can promise you tomorrow we're going to have a snowfall map for you that I'm a little more confident in. Right now, I still think 4 to 6 inches, give or take, depending on where you are, isn't out of the question because of the nature of some of the data that I'm seeing recently. So I just want you to keep that in mind overall. I think that's kind of where we are with this setup here at this point. But like I said, when you look at stuff like this here, let me pull this up one more time. So I said, when you look at stuff like this, where, you know, I still have a couple of these higher resolution models that are coming in. And like I said, this one tells me it's going to snow early. I just don't believe that just yet, based on some of the other stuff I'm seeing. I think this evaporates first. In my opinion, this starts to fall apart first. The second half of the day, though, if we got this to happen, then whoever mentioned we're getting 12 to 14 inches, absolutely, right? That's going to happen. To me, we have to overcome the dry air, and it's these reasons, like I said, why we don't have the snowfall map yet, is because of the fact that we have the snowfall ratios could be as high as 20 to 1, and if we overcome that dry air first, these numbers go up. And this snow blows around, and when temperatures are under 15 degrees, it's almost impossible for the roads to be clear. It doesn't matter what's going on. So that's the equation that we have right now. So as we continue to put this right now, Kate said, put my name on the screen. I'll just type it in there for you, bud. I'm just doing this on these computers so you guys know what's up, and I'll keep following along with this throughout the day. So that's where we are right now. I got Show Me St. Louis coming up at 10 o'clock. I'm in that as well, so that's going to take up your stream. So we're going to put her close to it, and we'll talk to you real soon about this. But I'll keep you up to date. That's all we know for now. And we'll keep trying to answer your questions the best we can throughout the rest of the morning. So that's where we are with that, and we will keep you posted a little bit later on.